Well, it looks like the iMac Pro is coming back. And I'm here to tell you guys that I am not on board. No, not that I'm not happy that it's not getting released. Obviously, I'm glad it's getting released. I'm not on board because I don't think it's a pro device for pro users. It may be pro in price, but I'm not sold. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm not sold, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it is. Alrighty, so as you know, the iMac are back. They're bigger, badder than ever, in the spotlight with a huge chin at the bottom. But in all seriousness, they have been back on the platform thanks to Apple's reinvented M series chips. From the M1, the M1 Pro, M1 Max, and soon to come M2, maybe even a bigger M1 Pro Max chip, I have no idea. But it looks like everybody is crazy about the Macs. Everybody's buying them. They've had huge growth and development. They've had huge sales, and they have truly got people more invested in buying a Mac ever before. But there is one Mac that is looming in the background that was a failed experiment, but it looks like Apple's gonna give it a second try, but they're gonna do something a little different. And that is the iMac Pro. According to Mark Gurman, Gurman expects that the iMac, the bigger 27-inch iMac, will undergo the Pro line. Now, it is basically going to be an all-in-one iMac. We've already known this. But what it's going to do is it will take advantage of the M1 chip, but it might be a slight tweaked variant to give it more either cores and GPU performance, or they're gonna go the route and just put the Pro chip inside and give you the option of the Max. Now, we don't know exactly where the chipset they're gonna use. This is still an early report, but we are expected to see this device sometime down either at WWDC or in the fall or in October. But let me tell you guys something, and let me just get this out the way. The first iMac Pro was a failure. Not because it was a bad device, not because it was terrible, but for the biggest reason, it wasn't modular. Now, the first iMac that came out was back in 2017, when I was a high schooler, just learning about everything, just getting into computer science and everything. The first iMac Pro was designed not just towards the pro users, but it was designed to be a semi-replacement for the Mac Pro. And you can expect that that went just about as good as my chances of, I don't know, better than any chance I have of doing anything. I guess you could say that much. But in all seriousness, the iMac Pro did not deliver to consumers, and as a result, Apple discontinued the line. The main problem with the machine wasn't that it was bad. The problem was when you expect a Pro machine, you expect it to be modular, and you also expect it to be customizable. And that was the complete opposite. This iMac Pro was not able to be customizable. You couldn't take it apart, you couldn't upgrade your specs, because that's what pro users like to do. They like to upgrade as time goes, and they also like to have the convenience of being able to do what they want to do in a system. It didn't work, so people weren't drawn to it, and also for $4,500, that's a huge pill to swallow as well. But most pro users can pay for that. However, though, Apple did answer the call of the critics with the newer modular Mac Pro, giving it everything that every pro user wants. You know, interchangeable specs, interchangeable hardware, giving you the performance you deserve. And it's selling very well for those users. That machine is doing well. So now Apple says, we're gonna go back to Forum and do it again, but we're gonna call it iMac Pro, when in reality, it is just a beefed up version of the iMac with the Pro tag. And that's why I'm not sold on it being a pro machine. I'm not sold on this machine that it's gonna be a bad machine, but I understand why Apple's doing it. If you look at their lineup, they have to have at least one pro line. You got iPhone, iPhone Pro, iPad, iPad Pro, Apple Watch, Apple Watch SE. So the Apple Watch is kind of their pro. Then you look at now the Macs. We have MacBook, MacBook Pro, iMac, and now iMac Pro. You see, people, this is a naming scheme. This isn't because it's going to be a pro machine. It's because it lines up with everything that Apple's doing. But with that said, though, I do think they will give it pro-like functionalities like the M1 Pro chip. If you give that machine the Pro chip, then there is a legitimate argument to be made that it can be a Pro device. But if you're going to tell me that it's a souped up version of the M1 chip, then that's not a Pro machine. Sure, it's a very capable device. Sure, it's a very, advanced machine. But if you want to make it Pro and you're going to price it Pro because Gurman says they're going to put it at $2,500, then put the M1 Pro chip, then we can talk Pro. But until then, I am here to say that the iMac Pro is going to be a good device. It will answer the call, but don't expect it to be a Pro machine unless they put that M1 Pro or Max chip inside. Once they do that, then we can have this conversation again. But until then, treat this with all regards that this is just a souped up M1 chip in an iMac with the label Pro.